Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ian as a Weirdo. Today we're going to be learning the stitch of the month for the month of September 2024. We are going to be learning the Crazy Picot mesh. Picot spelled P-I-C-O-T. I don't know if there's another way to say it, if it's Picot, if it's Picot, I don't know how it's pronounced. I am not a pronunciation person. I barely scrape by with what I've got. Today I'm going to be using a medium 4-weight yarn. I'm going to be using the Premier Basics yarn in Grapevine, and I'm going to be using a size J hook. You can use any size hook or yarn combination for this. Basically, if you can make a chain with it and you can do a double crochet with it, you can use that combination for this. So your multiple for this is going to be a multiple of 7 plus 1. So I've already chained mine out. And what we're going to do, so it's going to start a little different than what we expect. Let me take a step back. So I am using my Crochet Stitch Dictionary. I love this book. It's really great. I reference it all the time. And so the name is actually the name that this book gives it. I'm sure if someone else has done this exact stitch, they've used a different name for it. Now with this stitch in particular, I do find that the description and how they tell you to go through it is a little different than the chart that they provide. So I'm actually going through the chart and not the description because it's really confusing and I think there might be a typo, but what do I know? So what we're gonna do, so I'm going to, now that I've crocheted my multiple of 7 plus 1, is I'm going to go into the 4th chain from the hook. So if you're still having some trouble identifying the 4th chain from the hook, the 1st chain is going to be the one that the yarn freely moves through, your working yarn that's attached to your skein or your ball, and your hook. So this is our 1st, then we have our 2nd, our 3rd, and our 4th. And we're going to go in and do a slip stitch, which means we're going to yarn over, pull through that loop, and we're also going to pull through the loop on our hook. So we have our little picot right there. And then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. The dogs at my apartment complex agree that this is a fun stitch. So now we're going to count backwards actually from our slip stitch, not from what's on our hook. So you can see that with that slip stitch that we placed, we kind of stretched out that chain a little bit. So it's a little bit easier to identify what's coming from there. So we're going to count back and we're going to do a double crochet into the 10th chain from the slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, my hands are shaking because your boy probably needs some electrolytes, if I'm being honest. If I'm being very honest, I just walked back from the grocery store and it is very hot outside. So this is what it's going to look like right there. Then you are going to, we're going to have our repeat in our row. So our repeat is going to look like this, where you're going to chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're gonna go into the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Go in and do a slip stitch. Then you're gonna chain 2. So just to go back and say what we just did, we chained 7, we did a slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook, then we chained 2 more, and now we're going to go back to what our foundation chain is, that original chain that we made. We're going to see where we did our double crochet, and from there we're going to skip 4 of those chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the next chain after that, we're going to place a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over insert our hook, yarn over, pull through. So we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2. So this is kind of what it looks like now. I'm sorry my nail keeps snagging this yarn. I'm gonna blame this yarn. This yarn has never been my friend, but really it's just that my nails aren't very smooth, and that's the problem. So we're gonna keep doing that until we get to the end of our row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then slip stitch into that 4th chain from the hook. We're going to do 2 chains and then count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to skip 4 between our double crochet spots, and then in that next spot we're going to place our double crochet, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go into that 4th chain from the hook, yarn over, pull through both to get that little picot, and then 1, 2, and then as you're coming to the end, you should notice that, because if your counts are right, you should be able to do the 4 in between and have your last stitch be a double crochet. So it should look something like this. Now this is the original Crazy Picot mesh. I did make an adjustment for my Swamp Witch shawl that I will show you, but we got to start with the basics before we can move on. So really all we're doing is going around, we're chaining, and then we're slip stitching, and then we are doing the double crochet to build that height. So next I'm going to turn my work, and you can chain and then turn, turn and then chain, whatever you feel is right for you. I'm going to chain up 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can just drop everything you're doing. Okay, I'm just going to turn back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we'll turn. Sorry about that. Brain got a little confuzzled. It happens. And then we're going to slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch in there. And so now what we're going to be doing is different from the first row, and it's a 1-row repeat. So after you do your initial row, you can you'll start to see that mesh start to branch out. So you are going to chain 2 after your picot, just like that. And so we're going to skip this picot right here, the first picot. Well, really it was our last picot of the first row, and then you are going to go into the 2nd chain after the picot, and you're going to place a double crochet. So insert into that chain, yarn over, pull through. You should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to repeat that chain 7, 4th, you slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook, And our double crochet placement is gonna continue to be this 2 chains after the picot throughout the rest of the row until we don't have space for it anymore. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slip stitch, chain 2. Then we're going to find that next picot, and we're going to go 2 chains right after it. Sometimes if you are not used to looking at the back of a chain, you can kind of turn it around and see where, sorry, didn't do a double crochet, that's my bad. You can turn it around and see to make sure that you have the proper placement, but really this is kind of a little bit of a chaotic type of a mesh, so it's not a huge deal if you kind of place it a little differently. But you can kind of see that we've created kind of like a honeycomb effect that will continue on throughout the mesh. So now we're going to chain 7 again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go and do a slip stitch, 4th chain from the hook. We're going to chain 2. We're going to do a double crochet right past this picot. I swear I need a Gatorade or something. It's so hot outside. So now that we're on our last picot, we're actually going to continue doing the same thing, and this is going to give us the final height of that first row. So we are going to chain 7, 5, 6, 7. We are going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, insert, yarn over, pull through both, chain 2, and then we're going to find our picot. We're going to go 2 past it, and we're going to insert our hook and do that double crochet. So we should have 3 loops on our hook before we yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So how it's going to look is something kind of like this, and you're going to build it up so you keep having more and more picots and chains that are going to keep, well, the picots aren't really pulling, but the chains are going to continue to pull your work forward. So it really has this fun look to it. It's not just a regular mesh. The picots are going to kind of start to go opposite directions, and so it's really going to give this fun, slightly chaotic look, which I really like. Okay, so if you wanted to see how I changed the pattern to accommodate this kind of, I guess it's called ghillie cloth, this like camouflagey type look to it that I use for my Swamp Witch shawl. I will show you how I made those changes. It's very easy, especially if you know what you're doing with the Crazy Picot mesh that we already did. So I already chained up the same amount. This is Premier Basics Multi in the color Harvest. The colors are gorgeous. I think Red Heart has a very similar one that's a little bit more muted, but that's okay. So I chained up the same amount, and we're gonna start it in a very similar way. So we are going to chain a multiple of 7 plus 1. And then we are going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through both. And this is where I change it. So I will go and chain 4, and I will go into the first chain after the picot that I did originally, and I will go and add a second picot right after it. So I'll slow that down for you. Sorry, I kind of just was like, whoop, doo, 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 doo. So I chain 4 right after it. So the fourth chain from the hook, I'm going to go in, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through both. So now we can see we have 2 picots right next to each other. Then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to go 10, I'm going to do a double crochet 10 chains into the 10th chain from my first slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 right there. So I'm going to yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you can see it just has 2 little, it looks like little frog ears or something, or it could look like something different if your imagination is like that. So we're going to continue to do double picots on everything. You can even do 1 picot sometimes and 2 picots other times. It's not going to change really the width on anything. It's just going to change how it looks, so you can make it as random as you want. But we're going to do double picots on everything for this example. So I'm going to chain 7 just like I did in the original example. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, for some reason this Premier Basics multi does not, it's just like, it's so much easier to work with. I don't really know why, but the Grapevine one is particularly challenging for me. We're going to go into our, that's a side note, we're going to go into our 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to insert our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both loops on our hook. We're going to chain 4. We're going to insert into the 4th chain from the hook. We're going to pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops. So 2 picots side by side. And then we're going to chain 2. Then we're going to count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the next chain on our foundation chain, we're going to yarn over and do a double crochet. So there should be 4 chains in between all of your double crochets. Pull through 2, pull through 2 to get this type of look right here. Those would be cute little glasses, wouldn't they? I can imagine Froggy When and Knitting wearing something like that. I don't even think she doesn't wear glasses. Well, I mean, some people who are blind still wear glasses, but I don't know. She doesn't wear glasses, but I just assumed, like, in my mind's eye, she wore glasses. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was more that it looked like a frog than Froggy wearing glasses, but anyways, and also yeah, that's it. So fourth chain from our hook, we're going to go in and do our slip stitch. We're going to chain 4. We're going to insert into our 4th chain from our hook. We're going to chain 2. And then we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 on our foundation chain, yarn over and insert into that next chain, do a double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chains. In our 4th chain from our hook, we are going to insert. Isn't that a nice green right there? Like a nice olive green. I love it. It's like a pesto green. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. In our 4th chain from our hook, we're going to insert our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both loops on our hook. Chain 2. We're going to get real twisted around. That's not part of the tutorial, but if you want to imagine that it is, go for it. And then we're going to double crochet into, after skipping 4 stitches in the next chain, we're going to do our double crochet. So your first row should look something like this. It's like, where'd that Picot go? It's right there. It's just hiding. Isn't that cute? So how we're going to continue to do this is we're going to do our chain 10 that we're going to do at the beginning of all of the rows where we're going to do our picots. So where am I at? Oops, sorry. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are going to do our picot, first picot. So we're going to go the 4th chain from the hook, just like we usually do. And we're going to do a slip stitch right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chain 4. Slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook, so it looks like that. And then chain 2. And we're going to look at what was our first picot when we were doing it this way, and now that we flipped, it's going to be the 2nd picot, and we're going to go 2 chains after that, and we're going to put our double crochet in there. So this is what it looks like kind of right now, but it'll start to look a little bit more like something as we continue to work it. So we're going to chain 7. Why am I getting this all twisted around? My brain's like, nah, you decided to film this on the last day of the month, so you're gonna pay for it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook, chain 4, insert into the 4th chain from the hook and do a slip stitch, chain 2, and then you're going to do your double crochet, 2 chains. So you can kind of see it a little bit better there if we turn it. Maybe it will work. Okay, there we go. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. It starts to get a little bit easier once you get past the 2nd row because things stop kind of twisting and stuff like that. But you can see right here, that's added a lot more kind of filler to the mesh. I'm using the same yarn size, even the same like brand of yarn, but you can see how different it looks from here to here already with those 2 picots versus just 1 picot. So I really think it's a cute look, but let's keep going. And then we'll try to find a way to make it look nice and even as we finish up the stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope. 7. Okay. I'm gonna just keep going just for fun. 4th chain from the hook. We're gonna insert our hook, yarn over, pull through both for our slip stitch. Chain 4. Insert 4th chain from the hook, and insert, pull through both. Chain 2, and then after that 2nd picot of the 2 that we have in our next section, we're going to go into our 2nd chain and do our double crochet. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do our slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook. Chain 4. 4th chain from the hook, we're going to do a slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 2. And just like we did on the original version, we're going to go past the original picot, and we are going to go into two chains past that picot and do a double crochet. Now you will continue this pattern that we did for the 2nd row all the way up, where you chain 10 and then you 4th chain from the hook, you do a picot, and then you chain 4, do a picot, chain 2, double crochet, all of that stuff all the way up. You can see that this looks a lot more complicated. I mean, this looks complicated, right? But it just has a very different look, and that's how I got this this particular net style. One thing that I didn't do on my Swamp Witch hood that only bothers me if I decided to actually care about it, is if I compare the ends of where I started and where I finished the mesh. One end, where I started, is straight because that's where my foundation chain was. You can see here where I started, here where I started, both of those are straight. But if we look at where you finish, you have this very dimensional end. So I'm just gonna try something and see if it works, and we'll see if that works to kind of flatten out that edge as well. Okay, so now I'm going to try to eyeball just a way to smooth out this edge right here. So I'm going to start by flipping my work, and then I'm going to chain up 7, because what we did originally for every row is we chained 10 and then we did the 4th chain from the hook. I looked at what 6 would look like, and I wasn't quite happy with how that kind of pulled in this side, so I figured maybe 7 is a better place to start. So I'm gonna go 7, and I'm just gonna kind of eyeball how I want this to lay down, and 7 looks right about kind of how I want it. So I'm gonna do I'm gonna chain 7, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch into the 2nd picot, or what would have been the 1st picot coming from the previous row. So now, if you recall, we did when we started the work, we had 4 chains in between. So I'm going to chain 4, and I think I'm gonna have to add a 5th one just to get the right length to go from like picot to picot, but even then I'm not feeling like that might not be enough. Yeah, what do y'all think? It's not bad, but let's do 6. Let's do 5. So we chained 7, we did a slip stitch into our second picot once we have turned, and then we're going to, in between each of our second picots that we encounter from right to left, we are going to do a slip stitch straight into the picot. Now, if you went into the chain, that wouldn't be a huge deal. Into one of the chains that make up the picot, that's not a big deal, but I'm just going directly into the picot itself. 5 into that picot, pop it through, do a little slip stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, one thing that's important to note is that even though we have kind of, and I'm sure once you had more rows, it would look a little bit neater than this. So this kind of flattened it out and made it where we have flat edges. But something that is going to be different is that you don't have anything really pulling up the second chain after the second picot. And normally we would have had a double crochet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try chaining 2. No, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to do a double crochet into the second chain after that picot. Just square it off a little bit. So that's what it looks like now. And I feel like completed, and you can do this, it would be the same counts because you're going into the same picot regardless of whether you did 2 picots or you did 1 picot like we did at the beginning. But this will help it be straight on both ends, so you can really just have both sides match, because that's something that does occasionally bother me. You can adjust the chain counts however it works best for you, whether you go into a chain, whether you go into the picot itself might make a difference. I would recommend keeping this double crochet at the end, just so you can get that slight pull right there on this chain 10 that we had right here. So I hope this was helpful, and I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial.